Sleep is so important. It's not just about feeling good the next day, although that's certainly a big part of it. What sleep does is it promotes restoration of our bodies, and it also promotes general health. But there's no part of our body that isn't affected when we get too little sleep. So first thing I want to do is quickly, I hope, convince you how important sleep is, and why it's important, what it does. And then I want to give you some tips because many of you know someone or have sleep problems yourself. In recent years, the literature on sleep and its effects has just exploded. And some things that you might not know about sleep is that people who are sleep deprived will have a 4x increase in cancer. Just one night of sleep deprivation can make a person look pre-diabetic, so it affects our blood glucose levels. There's a 55% increase in obesity for people who have slept less than 6 hours a night over time. Sleep is also involved in memory consolidation, which means we go through the day and we're exposed to information and experiences, and then when we sleep, what happens is memories move from the hippocampus into the areas of the frontal lobe so we can retrieve it, and these actual dendritic spines are created while we sleep. So sleep is not just about I want to feel good the next day. We feel good or well the next day partially because we're doing something very healthy. I want you to prioritize your sleep. I don't think we should let much of anything interfere with our sleep. I mean, maybe if the Who comes to do a concert in your town or something, you can miss a night, but I would protect sleep at all costs. And in this culture, sometimes people think it's a badge of honor or heroic to miss sleep, and it means that you're being tough. What you're actually doing is you're going to wear your body down to the point where you get sick. Another interesting thing that happens with sleep is we actually do this sort of a power cleanse in our brain. So we have a glymphatic system, which is a way to clear amyloid and other proteins that can build up and cause Alzheimer's disease. So we go through several stages of sleep a night that repeat 5 times. So we have stage 1, 2, and 3, and then we have REM sleep. Each of these is very important, and we don't want to miss any of this. That's why when we talk about good sleep hygiene, we don't want to just talk about what everybody wants to talk about, which is how long should I sleep, duration. Because timing is essential to when we get our sleep, and also the intensity of the sleep, the quality of the sleep. I want this video to help you put together some lifestyle habits to promote good sleep. Now, in order to do that, we want to talk about sleep pressure. And sleep pressure is, sleep is an active process that our brain has to actively put us into sleep in the evening. Sleep pressure builds from the moment your feet hit the floor. The things that you do while you're awake will help to determine all of those things I told you about, the timing, the duration, and intensity of your sleep. So now, some of you might be taking melatonin, and one thing you want to know about it is it has weak soporific qualities, which is another way to say it. It's not a great inducer of sleep. It's not like taking a Tylenol PM or something like that. What it does is it helps your body determine that it's nighttime. Let's start doing nighttime activities. What happens when we have a lot of artificial lighting in our houses is we're getting too much of the spectrum that we don't want, and our bodies are going, wait a minute, is it daytime or is it nighttime? What am I supposed to do? So what I recommend doing is, because 90% of our day is spent indoors, we have to get outside early in the day when that blue spectrum is good, so we're already ready to sleep. That's one thing that we can do. If you're at work, go outside. Let's try to spend a half hour a day in the sun. And that's fine if the clouds are covering the sun. You're still getting what you need from that light, which is light exposure. So light exposure early in the day is pretty critical. So we know that going out during the day is good for us to build that sleep pressure so we can sleep at night. But also when we go home, what do we do with light? People like to watch television. People like to have their iPads. What I suggest is dialing down the light on your devices. Matter of fact, the new Apple update just put in a feature that will take some of that blue wave spectrum out. So it can help to do that. If you have that feature, you can do that. If not, dial it back. Take some of the light out of your house. Don't light it so bright is another good thing to do. Okay. Some people like to use some light therapy, which gives you some of that blue spectrum. So some of these happy lights that are made. One thing to know though is the sun outside is about 1,000 lux, which is how it's measured. These devices can help, but it's nowhere near the intensity. I think they're around 300 or 400 lux. So you'll be getting some of what you need, but don't let that replace going outside. A second thing I would tell you is heating the body. Some research has shown that heating the body early evening through exercise, or earlier in the day even, has been shown beneficial too. So if you're at work, you can go outside and walk, and you can not only heat the body up, but also benefit from the light. Heating the body early evening, let's say a warm bath. What happens is your temperature rises and then it falls, and then when our temperature falls, we want to go to sleep. Okay? So a hot bath for a half hour at about 102 degrees Fahrenheit, something like that. Or if you've watched some of my other videos, you know I'm a big fan of heat shock and the heat shock proteins that come from saunas. A rise in temperature and a fall in temperature is good. It calms us down and relaxes us, makes us feel good. So we want to look at early evening exercise, not too late, but enough to let it rise a couple hours before bedtime and then fall. And let's take a look at nutrition too. So magnesium is one micronutrient that almost 50% of Americans are deficient in. That's because we're not eating that dark green leafy vegetables. So do a lot of that, eating greens. But also you can supplement with magnesium. I know some of my patients have just taken magnesium in a supplement and immediately felt the positive effects on sleep. Magnesium is also a muscle relaxant, and that's why Epsom salts are used for muscular pain. So also just keeping a tight diet. Vitamin D deficiency is so high that your doctor is checking it during your physical, supplementing with a D3 vitamin. But nothing replaces food. So, and finally, probably the number one reason, if you take a look at all these other stressors and kind of gotten a handle on those and say diet's good, I'm outside a lot, I'm still having trouble sleeping, you got to look at your thinking. Because one thing that keeps people up a lot is rumination. Ruminating over guilt, fear about the future, worry about the future or the past. If you've had some trauma in your life, or you're going through a lot of interpersonal stress with people, or you're having some anxiety and depression, one thing doesn't mean that sleep problems cause depression, but it's associated with depression. So depressed people are either sleeping too much or too little. That's kind of complicated. Just know that there's an association. If you're having trouble with excessive worries to the point where it's causing a lot of distress with sleep, or it's causing trouble in your social functioning, then you're probably going to want to reach out and talk to a therapist, a psychologist, or another therapist. Okay, I hope this helps, and sweet dreams.